YouTube. Today we're going to talk about 5 or 6 tools that you need for building cars. So let's get talking about that. So the first thing we're going to talk about is you need a good set of car ramps, especially 2. I mean 4 is even better, but 2 is nice so you can jack your car up, and if you're doing major projects you don't have to worry about having multiple jacks or other things to hold the car up. And then also is the jack stand. You need a good set of those. Usually you can get those at garage sales, Harbor Freight, your local parts store, Craigslist, Facebook, wherever. These are usually the 2 things that come in handy together. The next item is a air compressor for like airing tires up, using air tools, really anything that you're going to do mechanic wise or work on cars. You can go smaller, but you'll have to worry about the tanks having to air up more often. This one, you can usually get these for pretty cheap, used or on Black Friday. That's just something to think about. Okay, the next item is torches, especially for heating up stuff to, like, say you're heating up a bolt or screw to get it to loosen up, or you need something you just need some heat. So the blue one is for a low temperature heat. It's just your regular propane torch. And then you got the MAP gas, which is the hotter, where it'll actually act like a torch, a hotter torch like what you see for welding. I have both of these. The one I'd probably recommend is the MAP gas. For majority of projects that you do for automotive, be that one. Or if you're doing light or you need lower heat levels, is the propane version. Great cheap version. I do have another option if you want to go all out. This is the other version I was telling you about. This is your more elaborate torch. Now this is your cutting torch. This is if you don't want to use this little like small hand-based. This is if you're doing a lot of heating up or fabricating or just stuff in general. Torch with your 2 nozzles right there to adjust the oxygen and gas. You have all those little fittings you need for striking it, your gauges, and then your 2 tanks. And now let's get to the next item. Another item every mechanic or anyone that works on cars should always have in their garage: welder. Now obviously this is a electric welder. I can set it up for TIG, MIG, and I think a couple other things. It is a Lincoln. And obviously this stand you can get like at your, if you don't want to spend a lot of money, you can get that stand at like Harbor Freight, and then buy the nicer welder to put on top. And then also you definitely need is a helmet. Get the one that has the nightshade where it's daylight until you hit the spark. But this is definitely something I'd recommend every person have. It's really a good thing that comes in handy for small or big projects. Is a crank mounted engine stand that's foldable. So for all those heavy engines that you work on, it has a crank handle. Where it makes it rotating the engine a lot easier. It's a lot better than your cheap one where you have to struggle and hold a handle to rotate an engine. That one I got from Summit. The last time I bought it was probably about $200, $225. They've probably gone up since then, but it's also one that I'd recommend over your just cheap ones that you have to rotate yourself. This one is more of a long-term engine stand that you keep versus the cheaper ones you might use and sell down the road, but something to think about. This one is your Harbor Freight. Now obviously this is the 2-ton one. It's great for lifting those bigger engines like the big block Chevys or your inline sixes or other projects that are heavier, or if you want to pull an engine and transmission, in some cases you want the bigger one. Obviously the Harbor Freight one is a cheaper version, and it's the good thing about it is right here where you pull the pins, the legs fold up, so if you are in a tight spaces for your garage or you have a small garage, it's definitely nice to have a foldable one versus the one that the legs stay out and don't move. So it's a nice upgrade. Now if this ever fails, this pump, you can always get a better one that can handle more weight and lift up easier, or a lot of other people have gone up to ones that you can hook up to a air compressor. So buying the cheap Harbor Freight one is not a deal breaker, or you can spend and buy a used one online. It just depends on where you want to get it and what kind of projects you're going to be working with. One like this one eventually might be used to help pull a body off a frame, pulling this engine right here that it's attached to, a bunch of other projects. So it's one of those things you do need in a garage. That is a transmission jack. For all the ones that like to do DIY transmission installs in your driveway or your garage, this comes in handy and helps you out. This one is a Pittsburgh from Harbor Freight. You can get more expensive ones based on if you do this more on a regular basis. This one I bought just because I only plan on doing a few transmissions underneath the car, so it's just one of those things I didn't spend much money on it, but it's a good handy tool that should always be in your arsenal of tools. So I hope that was helpful and gave some people some insight of things that will help them out on tools that you might need or never thought of needing, or are on your bucket list that you're just haven't bought yet. So just wanted to give some insight for those beginners that are starting out to get their laundry list of tools that they're going to use over the years. And so if this video brought any value to you and will help you out or help somebody else out, share it out to your friends and family or anybody that they might need this to help them out. Like and subscribe the video, and we'll see you on the next one.